I go to make a left outside the restaurant, and before I knew it, I was being grabbed from the back of my coat and being dragged to the ground, holding it down. I have nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
I had this then husband. I'm trying to that either busy or doesn't care, doesn't want to talk about it. My face started like drooping. My words started to slur.
Oh no.
I started calling it all. I started being the advocate for everyone that's in there. So-and-so needs the diaper change. So-and-so needs to go outside to get fresh air. I was being everyone's voice. You don't want to feel his wrath. Trust and believe. I'm highly favored and I'm divinely protected.
Hi, and welcome to another episode, another season of the Woman Witness podcast on the Woman Witness TV network. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Here on this podcast, we bring dynamic stories of faith, resilience, and transformation to empower, strengthen, and inspire you on your journey with God, family, and community. Each episode, we deep dive into the lives of incredible women who have faced challenges and embraced their calling and found courage to rise stronger. Here at The Well, we believe that every story is a testimony to God's grace and his goodness in your life. And that together we can grow, we can uplift each other, support one another, and empower each other through our stories. Join us each week as we connect through shared experiences, celebrate victories, and lean into the power of faith to shape our lives and the world around us. Today, I have another special guest to introduce to you today, a resilient woman, a woman of faith. And we're going to go ahead and get into her story. But before I do, I'm going to read a little bit about her. Today, I'm excited to introduce to you my amazing guest today. Her name is Brandi Owens, the author of Renewed: Life After Tragedy, which highlights the resilience and self-discovery. Through raw storytelling, she shares her challenges and victories and insights on healing and transformation. The book emphasizes on setting boundaries, self-love, and embracing change by encouraging readers to live their authentic life and find their joy. It serves as a guide to overcoming adversity, embracing life with inspiration, and setting you on your path towards healing and fulfillment. I am so excited to introduce you, my guest today, Miss Brandi Owens. Brandi, welcome to The Well.
Hi, thank you so much, Leah. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, Brandi. I'm so excited to have you on and have you here a part of season 3. I'm excited to dive into your book and dive into your ministry and talk a little bit about what inspired you to go ahead and get started. So without further ado, let me just give you the floor and ask you just to introduce yourself. Who is Brandi Owens?
Hi, I'm Brandi Owens. I am a certified life coach for women. I am also a keynote speaker. I travel all around the world speaking and uplifting women of all backgrounds from all walks of life. And I'm also an author. I published my very first book.
Yes, well, congratulations. And we were talking about it before, and I am all for writing the vision and making it plain, especially when you're able to write your story, write your truth, and turn around and help and inspire and encourage other women. I'm all for that. So let me ask you, what inspired you to write your book, Renewed? What was a specific moment when you knew that your story needed to be shared with the world?
The reason why I wrote my book is because I had a major thing happen to me, and I know that there are a lot of women in this world that have gone through what I have gone through, and they still feel very, very stuck, and they have nowhere to turn or no one to talk to, because let's face it, not everyone has that family that they can rely on, that family that they could reach out to and talk to. My book really helps you overcome that. It gives you ideas on how to overcome what I've overcame. And it also, it's like me being there with you in person, holding your hand, walking you through it.
I like that. Now, Brandi, and it's such a sensitive topic, and but it's one that needs to be had, like you said, because a lot of women have been victimized in this way, and they don't know how to address it. Without jumping and telling your story, that journey, talk to us about that journey and how revisiting those experiences actually help shape the narrative of this book. Walk us through a little bit about what you encountered.
Okay, back in January 2022, in a very, very beginning of January 22, on January 7th, I'm from New York City. So I had left my apartment building to go get something to eat for my daughter and I. So I frequent neighborhood restaurants. I love eating different type of foods.
Right.
So I had gone to the restaurant to get some food for my daughter and I. And there was this guy in there who kept trying to give me money. And I'm like, no, I don't need your money. I make my own money. I have my own money. I don't need your money. Leave me alone.
Right.
So I waited for, just to preface this, there's cameras all in a restaurant. There's cameras over the register. There's cameras outside on the walkway. There's literally, you can see 5 cameras. So when I got my food, after they bagged out my food and I went to walk outside the restaurant, I go to make a left outside the restaurant. And before I knew it, I was being grabbed from the back of my coat and being dragged to the ground.
In broad daylight?
In broad daylight. This is the dinner time rush hour. And I lived in Hell's Kitchen, a very busy area. I lived in the Hell's Kitchen, which is near the theater district and Times Square. So there's a lot of foot traffic. It's not like it's a back alley or where no one.
Right.
It's right outside in front of the restaurant. The view was not obstructed. It's a big panel glass window.
What are you doing in this moment? What's going through your head?
I'm fighting for my life. I am fighting for my life. I look to my right and I see the restaurant workers that prepared my food and bagged my food. They're coming closer to the window and they're laughing. No one's coming outside to assist me. I'm fighting. I wound up breaking free. And I must preface this also, is that I've also journaled my whole entire life. And you'll understand why I'm telling you that I've always journaled. I've always journaled since I was able to hold a pen and write. I've always written. Probably hence why I wound up writing a book as well, because I always write.
Right.
So I leave to go back to my apartment. Mind you, I take the food along with me. I go back home crying, hysterical crying, no one to help me. And to get inside my apartment, I need 3 keys. The first key is to get in the main building, because I didn't live in a doorman building. I lived in what you would call, it's like a brownstone. So I go inside, put the key in, go inside my building, and then I hear the door slam behind me. I wound up like jumping because I'm scared. I'm startled. And then I wound up opening up the key to the other door to get actually inside the building. And then that door slams and I jump. And then I only live like on the first floor, but you have to walk up a couple steps. So I walked up those few steps, put the key in my actual apartment door. And I go in, and those that know about New York City, your actual apartment door slams behind you because it's a slam lock. So our doors are made out of steel, actually. So then that door slams and I jump. And I make a quick right because that's our bathroom. As soon as you come in the entrance, I went in the bathroom, shut the bathroom door. I turn on the water. I go underneath my vanity sink and I pull out the bleach and a scrub brush that you scrub the tile in the shower with. And I just wind up getting in the shower and I'm scrubbing my body and washing myself with bleach, hysterically crying. I'm pulling my hair out. I'm kind of like slapping myself, like
Like this is just happened.
Yeah.
This is reality.
And I feel like I'm going crazy, but I'm doing it silently because I don't want my daughter to hear me.
Oh,
Because in my family, I grew up as you're not allowed to cry.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
You can't cry. If you cry, it has to be in silence.
Oh my gosh.
You don't have permission to cry. The world has no time for you to cry. What are you crying about? There's no reason for you to cry. And you cry, shut up.
Oh my God.
You have something to say, something's bothering you, you have no feelings. You're not allowed to speak.
Brandi, was this just for girls in your family, or is this period?
Period.
Okay.
Didn't matter if you were a girl, didn't matter if you were a boy, because I have brothers too. You're not allowed to speak on it. If you're sick or you had a problem, you have no say so. You're not allowed to voice your opinion. You're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it happens a lot in our community. Shut up or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yep.
You're to be seen. You're to be seen, not heard.
Yeah.
To make matters worse is that I was married at the time as well. And I even had called my husband and nothing. Even till this day, it's nobody cares that you had a stroke. Stop telling people about it. You're acting like the victim. Stop talking about it.
Wait, you were married at the time and you told him and now it's his reaction?
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
Okay, that's the next part. Okay, sorry. I'm
part.
getting ahead of you. I'm sorry.
So I get out the shower. I hand my daughter the food. I give her the food. And she's like, Mom, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, nothing. She's like, are you sure? Yeah. Nothing. Mind you, she is of age where I could have shared the story with her because she is now 23 years old. So she was of, but I don't like,
You wanted to shelter her.
Yeah, I want to shelter her. I want to protect her. I don't want her to have to worry about me. And then again, it's nobody wants to hear it. Like, you have no say so. Like, you got to keep it. Whatever happens to you, you'll have to keep to yourself. You can't, whatever. So the very next day, I had left my apartment when my daughter had gone to work because, again, I didn't want her to know what was going on. At the time, she worked in Brooklyn, which is a ways from where we lived at in Midtown Manhattan. She goes to work. I wind up going to the precinct, which is only a couple of blocks away. I lived at 49th Street, and the precinct is at 54th Street, and that was a very long walk, yet it was so close to my home. So I get to the precinct, and there's a male and a female officer, and there's like a little alleyway. So I walk into the alleyway, and I throw myself up against the wall in the alleyway. And I'm sliding down, and a male officer comes to attempt to talk to me first. I stick my hand out, I tell him, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the female officer. And he's like, all right, whatever. Not in a rude way.
Oh, okay.
No, not in a rude way. Like, no. He wasn't rude. He's just like, whatever. I am okay. So you prefer to speak to a female officer. So I tell her, she's like, what's wrong? She's like trying to console me. She's like, what's wrong? At that time, I couldn't breathe. Like, I'm just
hyperventilating. And
I'm talking to her. And then she's like, all right. Then she brings me inside and she waves the officer away, like basically like, I got this, like, whatever. So we go inside, and then she goes to get another female officer. I guess it was a lieutenant or something, a female lieutenant. And then she comes to talk to me. And then again, I had to tell her the story again. So every time when things like this happen to you, you constantly have to retell the story. It just, especially when it just happened, you don't want to keep telling the story over and over again. Like, I prefer for her to relay the message, which she did, but then they had to hear it in my own voice, in my own words, because they're writing everything down. And then I wound up telling the other female officer the story again. They did offer me, like, I guess they were I was in their break room, so they wound up offering me pizza, which I didn't want. They offered me water, which I didn't want. I was just
traumatized. It's a lot. Yeah.
Like, I don't want anything to eat. I don't want to drink anything. They wind up taking me to SVU. It's a real thing. It's not just a television show. SVU is a real thing, especially in New York City. SVU is real.
What I'm sorry, what is SVU?
Special Victims Unit.
Okay.
So they take me to SVU. I'm at the SVU. I have to get into this elevator, which is a very small, cramped elevator. And then there's a male detective. So it's me, the two female officers, and a male detective, like this big guy. We get into the elevator because you can't even get inside of SVU. Like they have that under lock and key. It's not like a regular precinct. Like you have to be buzzed in. Somebody has to come down and get you because after all, so we get inside SVU. I sit down, and then the male detective, asked me the same questions again. I had to tell him the story once again, and then they tell me I have to look at mugshots. It's not like how you see on TV, and it's like a book of mugshots. It's actually a whole entire computer system.
Oh my goodness!
So what they do is get the description of the person and the neighborhood where the attack or assault happened, and they plug it into the system, into the computer. That way it narrows everything down. And then I had to sit there and click photo by photo by photo, looking and seeing if the guy was in there, but he was not in their database. So they wound up giving me a card, which is to Victim Services, which is a referral through SVU for those people that have been sexually assaulted, whether you're a man or a woman. Sexual assault happens to men and women. Just a lot of men don't report it. And also a lot of women, they don't report it. They do what I did. They go home and then they never say anything ever in their life.
Yeah.
So
why do you feel that way, Brandi? Why do you feel? Who wants to relive it?
No one wants to relive it. And plus, they could have somebody in their family like what I had, and they're like, well, nobody wants to hear it. I even have brothers that, well, one in particular is like, well, just get a knife, just get a gun.
For next time?
Yeah, for next time.
Okay.
For next time. So when you think about it, I had nobody to talk to. I don't have any parents because my parents passed away, but that's a different story. That's not why I'm on here. I'm on here to talk about this assault. So all I had was my best friend who works a lot. And then another thing is SVU gave me a card for Victim Services for me to call for therapy and counseling, and Victim Services also helps you should you not be able to work after this.
Yeah.
Well, it took a very long time for me to even receive services from Victim Services. The New York State is backlogged with therapists. Wow. So it took weeks.
Wow.
For me to even have a therapist through them, even through my church, it took weeks. Wow. Even though I talked to someone at my church, it took almost 2 months.
Oh, wow.
It took a long time for me to get any type of services. So what I'm doing is compressing it and holding it down. Holding it down. I have nobody to talk to. Yeah. You know, I had this then husband. I'm trying to either busy or doesn't care, doesn't want to talk about it. By the time I did get therapy, I love my therapist. I really do love her. Thank God. Yeah. I started telling her what happened. I started receiving services. But what prompted, I wound up having a stroke, but what prompted the stroke is I had received a letter from Victim Services. And I was on the phone via Zoom talking to my therapist. And I was telling her about the letter, and she's like, how do you feel about the letter? And then like I'm going into detail, and I'm talking to her, and I'm talking about the assault again, because that's the point of me having therapy. I'm speaking to her, and she's like, you don't look so good. My face started like drooping. My words started to slur.
Oh no.
I started to get like a really bad migraine. I'm like stuttering. I can't move. She's like, I'm calling the ambulance. She wound up calling the ambulance, but here's the thing. This is how God works. I live on 49th Street. The hospital was at 51st Street. An ambulance just so happened to be coming down the street. You hear what I'm saying? The ambulance just so happened to be coming down the street when I'm on the phone with my therapist. They break into my apartment and get me out my apartment while I'm mid-stroke.
Stroke. Oh my God.
Do you know when you have a stroke, your brain loses oxygen and you have to get to the hospital so quickly?
Immediately.
You have to get there quickly, very, very quickly. And I was also on with my best friend also at the same time as my therapist. So she had to keep talking to my therapist as I was being transported to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
Mind you, my best friend lives 90 minutes away and she had just had a baby.
Oh my goodness, Brandi.
So I guess my best friend wound up coming all the way out to where I was all the way in the city because she lived on Long Island and I lived in Manhattan. And when I had the stroke, I wound up losing total memory, totally unable to speak, unable to walk. So I wound up being in the hospital for a month. Then I had to go to rehab, a nursing home. Let me clarify that because a lot of people, when they hear rehab, they may think like alcohol abuse or drug abuse, but no, actually where you get physical therapy and stuff. I had to go to a rehab nursing home. I was the youngest resident in there. I had to have physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. And people fail to realize that when you have speech therapy, you're unable to swallow as well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So if you're unable to swallow water or anything, you can't speak either. Everything goes hand in hand. So I had to be rehabbed. I had to learn how to use my hands. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk again. And I've only had therapy 5 days a week, no weekends included. But my therapy sessions were not that long because I'm not the only patient. And there's only so many therapists at a time. The longest therapy that I received was speech because not that many people in there require speech. Most people that are, elderly, like I said, because I'm the youngest person, the elderly, they don't really need speech. They need the physical therapy, so they can walk, or occupational therapy, could, the hands and stuff shake. But I needed all three. It's very uncommon for a patient to need all three services at one time.
Right. My God.
So, and also the speech therapist helps you to learn how to count money. I didn't know anything. I was reset back.
Yeah.
I was reset back to newborn. I'm 46 years old. I just turned 46 in July. Yeah. So I was reset back to newborn. I don't remember anything prior to the attack. And the only reason why I know the things that happened and the things that transpired, like I said, when I prefaced it, I've always written. I've always journaled.
God.
So I have the blessing of being able to go back, like digging, like how DJs dig in a crate, to go back and pull a book and read it and find out about myself. So theoretically, I wrote an autobiography about myself, not even knowing.
Not even. How hard was it to go back and read it, Brandi?
Very, very difficult. But in that time, that's when I found my purpose, because my background is beauty and fashion. I've worked all the fashion weeks and done the red carpets and done makeup and the clothing and design and everything. But I'm not gonna lie, I was so angry at God.
Interesting. Yeah.
That you need to use the bathroom and you could only think about using the bathroom, but nobody knows you have to use the bathroom. There were times when I had to like wiggle and finagle myself onto the floor because when I pressed the call button for the nurse, they would not come in the room because I was a mute. And some of the nurses forgot to write, she is a mute, she cannot speak. So they would never come to my room sometimes. Ugh. So I just have to sit there And then like when I was able to find my voice and when I was able to speak, I started speaking up for the other residents. So whenever my roommates, whatever, because I did get moved around from rooms to room as I went in stages, I would speak on their behalf. I would pull the curtain back and say, hey, excuse me, they didn't brush your mom's teeth today. Hey, your mom didn't eat today. Hey, they didn't cut your aunt's toenail. Like I was telling it, I was telling it all.
Look, you like, I got my voice back now.
You know, I started telling it all. I started being the advocate for everyone that's in there. So-and-so needs the diaper change. So-and-so needs to go outside to get fresh air.
Yeah.
Like you name it. I was being everyone's voice. Not only did I
Now, what did you learn about yourself after having that stroke and perspective in life?
You only get one life. Definitely, you only get one life. And here I am starting my life all over again at this big age of 46 years old and finding out who I am.
Small age, honey. Sorry. I had to throw that in there. You were young.
Sorry, at this small age, you know, finding out who I am as a person, finding out my dislikes, finding out those who need help and helping them in any type of way. And from what I heard and from my two friends that I have, which are my best friends, which was my cousin and my best friend that traveled all the way, and my daughter held it down, held down the bills. When I was away, my best friend who was driving back and forth and sneaking me in food and snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And she had a newborn going out of her way. And my cousin, who at the time was overseas, who was doing what she can, and a few other people in my church family. But you really find out when these type of things happen to you, who's really there for you and who is not.
Yeah.
And who really loves you and who really does not love you. And then I really found my purpose, like what God wants me to do with my life.
Let me ask you, after surviving this type of assault, this was a sexual assault, right?
Yes.
Yes, a sexual assault. And after surviving this type of assault, an incredible, difficult experience, how did you begin to process that healing emotionally and mentally after regaining your new sense of self?
How I did that is by the person that I never forgot, which is, it's not crazy, but it's how it was meant to be. I never forgot who Jesus Christ was.
Firm foundation.
I never forgot who he was. I forgot who I was, forgot that I was a wife, mother, friend, aunt, a bestie. But that light inside of me never left. He's the one that held my hand through everything. He's the one that showed me who I am and who I continue to consult with, who I ask for permission from before I make any move in my life. I tell everyone I have a very jealous dad, and they're like, Brandi, what do you mean you have a jealous dad? Your dad passed away. No, I'm not talking about him. I have a big daddy, who is very jealous and very overprotective of me.
He'll come see about me.
Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with me.
You don't want to feel his wrath. Trust and believe. I'm highly favored and I'm divinely protected.
Yes, I love it.
So that's how I made it. And he showed me what to do. I mean, showed me not to wait on anybody. There were days where I was picking up my pajama bottoms and doing leg raises. When I graduated from the wheelchair to the walker, I would scoot and place my back up against the wall and do leg raises. Like I was doing everything in my power to get out, because a lot of people wait on other people to help them and save them. But you had to help and save yourself. And I even told therapists, I'm out of here. They're like, how do you know? They said, how do you know you're leaving? I said, I'm not staying here forever. I'm leaving. This is not my permanent residence. This is not my permanent home. I'm going to my home.
Hold on, Brandi. I'm sorry. You can take that. Listen, people. Brandi, that was so powerful. It does not matter if you've had a stroke. It doesn't matter if this is something internally, mentally. You don't have to stay there. If you are like me and you dealt with a childhood full of trauma, I don't have to stay in that trauma. You don't have to stay in that trauma. You have the ability, and with God and with Jesus in your life, he will lead you on picking yourself up. And what did you say, Brandi? Going back home, going where
Going back
you
home.
belong. You don't have to stay there. That's not your residence. Ooh, Brandi, I get so excited. Girl, that was good.
I'm going
Okay.
back home. This is not my home. And with God, and you pray with God and you walk hand in hand and hold his right hand, you have the power and authority to command greatness over your life.
Come on, that is so good. That depression, that anxiety, you don't have to stay there. Change your address. That's not your address. They just gave it to you. You're there temporarily. Brandi, I felt that. Okay, in your book, how do you address the complex of emotions? Do you introduce people who may say, you know what, Brandi, I don't know this Jesus. How do I know that's going to work for me? Do you include that in your book?
That I include in my book, and I made my book a special way as well, because a lot of people, number one, I made the print big enough for everyone to be able to read, because the print books.
Thank you. You tiny written. Nobody got time.
It's so tiny. It's like, and I don't know about you, but sometimes even with books, because I'm on my phone so much, and you know how we could zoom in on the books.
Yeah.
Sometimes I catch myself trying to zoom in
on a book
and zoom in on a book. I'm like, oh, this is real life. I can't zoom in on a book. So I made it the print big enough, and I made it a workbook size so that you could take notes, because you ever have those books where you're like, oh, this book is so good. I wish I could take notes, but you're like,
yeah,
all right, let me get a pen and take notes.
Yeah.
So I made it that. Yes. So I made it that size. I made it big enough so it's workbook size, but it's actually a book that I authored. And I also thank you at the end of every chapter. I didn't want to wait until the end of the chapter and roll. Thank you for purchasing my book, blah, blah, blah. This book is very personal to me. And since I'm writing my book, I'm writing it the way that I want. And also I give a conclusion, but it's basically food for thought, tips and tricks on how to get yourself unstuck at the end of every single chapter.
I love it.
At the end of every single chapter.
Don't wait to the end.
Don't wait to the end. If you can't get to chapter 2 because you're still stuck on chapter 1, I got this little bit that's going to help you get unstuck. Just a little bit. A couple things.
Brandi, I love it. Okay, which is why I would ask you, how do you, so now moving in and helping others, I think I find it so encouraging that you are so brave. And I can even tell, I can see your authenticity and just reliving and talking about what you went through. And I can see it and I can feel it. And I believe that even with being a witness, I think that's what makes you so valuable to everybody else, to the world, to the people that God has connected and assigned to you. How did you feel when you found out that there are other women that are still suffering in silence, that are other women who are still stuck back in that trauma and that experience? How do you feel when you encounter those women, and what approach do you take?
My heart breaks. Number one, I'm being very transparent.
Yeah.
And even though I tell my story, and here's another thing, when our story is not for us, our story is for the world.
That's true.
We have no right keeping, even though it's traumatic, keeping it to ourselves, because it will help somebody else. Yeah. So what I do when people find out my story and they come to me, I shut my mouth and I listen to them. I'm an active listener. It's not about me, right? It's not about me right now. It's not about me. Yeah, my story attracted you to me and brought you to me. But when we're together, it's not about me. It's about you. How are you feeling? Tell me your story. How are you hurting? How can I help you? How can I help you? Because believe it or not, when they tell me their story, they're actually helping me. Meanwhile, they came to me for help. How can I help you? Yeah. What can I do for you?
Yeah. That's good, Brandi. That's good, because I think I hear what you're saying. By us listening, you are allowing that sister, even like you said, that brother, to shed that weight off of them just by telling your story, and you will become so much lighter. But you got to have somebody who is willing to listen. Brandi, talk to me about what you wish that you would have had in that moment.
I wish that I would have had someone to speak to. I wish I would have had people that were willing to sit there and like hug me and not necessarily tell me that it's going to be okay, because I'm still healing today. Even though I help other people heal, this is something that I'm going to be healing from for the rest of my life, because I may not remember mentally, but here's another thing is that your body will always remember the trauma. Your body will always remember the trauma. The trauma will not go away, but it's how you are reacting to the trauma, which is going to help you heal. And it's very important for you to get those feelings out and to have someone to speak to. Because if you don't have someone to speak to, what happened to me will happen to someone else, where your body's going to go into fight or flight mode and it's going to shut down.
Yeah.
It's going to shut down. I'm only here by the grace of God. And because, I happened to be on the phone with my therapist and I was able to get to the hospital swiftly and quickly. There are so many people that have been in a stroke or whatever, and they do not come to that quickly. Some still cannot speak, cannot walk, or still like need rehabilitation because they were at home by themselves and someone didn't get to the house for hours. Mine was minutes.
Oof, I can't even imagine.
I got there within minutes. And as soon as I got there, they started working on me immediately.
Oof.
I can't even fathom someone having a stroke and they're home by themselves and they're not on the phone with somebody like visually where somebody can see what's going on with them.
That is so scary. My God, that's scary. I can't even imagine. That is terrifying. Let me ask you, as far as moving forward for other victims, what would you like to see differently? One, from humanity. Two, from the system that is supposed to protect us and keep us safe.
One, from humanity. If you're not gonna, I understand people don't want to jump in there and
No,
like
I don't understand.
And get physical. But why not pick up the phone and call 911? Call 911, because I am that person. I'm calling 911. I make it my business. I don't want to see man, woman, child being harmed. Call 911. You walk by, call 911. And this is off subject, and this has to do a lot with populated cities such as New York City and stuff. During COVID, there was a woman who was walking down the street, mind you, in front of a very popular hotel. I'm not going to name names. In front of a very popular hotel. And security at popular high-end hotels are big, and they're the doormans and stuff. This woman walked by and she was drop kicked to the ground and beat up, and they shut the door and didn't call the police. It was all caught on video camera. An onlooker had called the police. The doorman didn't help them. The doorman got fired. Security got fired. And that's it. To me, I believe charges should have been pressed because they blatantly in her face shut the door on her.
That's a humanity problem.
It's a humanity problem, and people need to speak up. So,
that makes me so mad.
And I'd say in big populated cities, because everyone tends to mind their own business.
I'm all for minding your own business. I really am. But I think this is what's wrong with the world today. I feel that because it's not directly affecting us, right? Oh, I got somewhere to be. I have something to do. So I'm not going to go out of my way to make a difference and change and help somebody else in their life. I'm sorry. I got to calm down, Brandi.
And you and I are just alike. And I'm even one of those people that if I see a homeless person, I have a little bit of change, I'll hand them the change. It's not up to me whether or not they're going to go abuse the change. That's not my problem. The problem with me is that I seen it. And if I walk away and not doing anything, then I'll be like, well, maybe they really were hungry and I didn't help them. You don't know what anyone has gone through. You don't know why they're homeless. You don't know why they're on the street. You don't know why someone's crying. You just don't know. So why are you walking by? Why don't you stop and ask? It takes 2 seconds to say, hey, are you okay today? Are you all right?
I need everybody listening to this. I need you to go look up the Good Samaritan. I believe that we all could benefit from that story in the Bible, the biblical tale in the Bible. I couldn't tell you where it's at right now, but it's in there. Everybody could benefit from it. And for me, hearing your story, that's what just enrages me. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Brandi.
It only takes two seconds to say, hey, are you okay? Or it takes 2 seconds, or you see someone is down, say, hey, you look, and they have something nice on. Hey, you look nice today. Hey, I like your haircut. Hey, I like your shoes. Hey, and us women, we always like pretty nails. Oh, yes. I like your nails.
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds. No one said you had to stand there and hold a full entire conversation and invite them to your home. You know, and then make them your new best friend. But it takes 2 seconds. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. And you never know what someone's going through. Imagine you see me and not even know that I had a stroke and I'm at the register and I'm paying for something and something the cashier says, you know, it's $5.99 and I hand the cashier $3. You're probably looking at me, sizing me up, saying she's a whole grown adult. How come she does not know how to count money? Yeah. Well, I don't know how to count money because I lost total memory. Right. Because I had a stroke.
Right. Right.
You know, stop being so judgmental. Yeah. You don't know if someone just lost their job, a family member just got traumatized the way I got traumatized, just got out the hospital. Even when I was in rehab, I was contemplating suicide as well, because I did not know if I was going to be like that for the rest of my life.
You didn't see a way out.
I didn't see a way out. You know, you have all these things going for you, meaning you're breathing, you're walking, you're talking, you have a roof over your head, and everyone should be considered blessed when they have a roof over their head. It doesn't matter if you live in a mansion or a studio apartment or a bedroom. You got to go within your means. As long as you have somewhere to lay your head down and you are not on the street.
Amen.
Consider yourself blessed.
Yeah.
You got 2 legs. You can walk. You have a voice. Use your voice to help others. You got 2 legs and you know someone that can't walk for them.
Come on, Brandi.
Do it for them. Do it for the ones that can't walk. Do it for the ones that don't have a voice. Do it for them, because guess what? You will want somebody to do it for you, and don't sit there and tell me that you wouldn't, because you're lying to yourself if you say you won't want somebody to do it for you. Because if you wouldn't want somebody to do it for you, you wouldn't be falling into that depression. And you're falling into that depression because you have nobody there for you. So if you want someone to be there for you and you want someone to be your voice, be that voice for someone else. Be that smile for someone else. Because right now they need you to be their strength. And not everybody knows who Jesus Christ is, and not everybody knows who God is. But let me also tell you this. us praying folk, us warriors, we need help too. We're not always okay just because we love the Lord and just because we love Jesus does not mean we're on it 100%. Like we smiling all the time, 100%.
Yeah.
And like I said in the beginning, I'm a coach. Coaches need coaches too. Therapists need therapists too. It just goes in one whole big circle.
Oh, that's good, Brandi. I felt that. Yes, Brandi, that is what it's all about. It's what it's all about. Bringing stories, bringing messages to the well. Help. If you want that help, be that help. I believe that we're all reflections of Christ. That's what it's all about, being a witness. And if they don't know who God is, they are going to meet them through you. Okay, give us some closing reflections, Brandi. I love our conversation. I am like just overflowing. I mean, I was over here ready to fight and everything. Okay. I mean, this is what it's all about. I get so excited. Okay. Bring us back. Bring us back. Give our listeners something to take with them throughout the week. After listening to this conversation, we want them to leave them with some homework, give them something to take with them, Brandi.
Number one, be that light that you want to see in the world. I know it sounds cliche and everything, but I hold and I stand true to this. Be that light that you want to see in this world. And it starts with us as individuals. Not I'm doing this because I'm not going to be nice because nobody's nice to me. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be nice. It's a ripple effect. So be that light that you want to see in the world. And another thing, I want all of our men and women and young adults to journal. It is so important to journal. Plus, it's good. Like when you go have a family and you looking down the family tree, you know, sometimes stories get misconstrued and be like, yeah, Big Mama, blah, blah. Meanwhile, that's not what Big Mama did.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you gotta go journal. We're not going to be here forever. We all have an expiration date. It's something fun that you could also leave for your future. And also, if I wouldn't have journaled, I wouldn't know who I was as well. Even though I have my friends that tell me who I am, my likes and dislikes, but I go back and read about myself.
Yes.
Journal. And journal is also healing. It makes you feel better. Little by little. And also write something that you're grateful down for in your journal. There's always something to be grateful for.
Yes, there is.
Always. I don't care if you write in your journal, I'm grateful for this can of soda or pop, wherever you're from in the world. Some call it soda, some call it pop. I'm grateful for this can of pop today. There's always something to be grateful for. It doesn't have to be like this humongous big thing that you're grateful for. It could be something minute.
Yeah. I love it, Brandi. Thank you. Thank you. Journal. Write it all down. Write your legacy. Every day you live is a legacy. You write. You are responsible for the story that is being told about you. You control the narrative.
Yes.
Brandi, tell us where to find this book.
Okay, my book could be found on my very own personal website. You can find it at Brandi, Brandi Owens, OWENS.com is one word, BrandiOwens.com.
Perfect. And where can we follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Brandi__Owens, OWENS, on both Instagram and Facebook. And if you're having trouble finding me that way, you can go on my website and you'll also find my social links on there as well.
Perfect. And is that where we can go to book you as well?
Yes. And also, if you want to book me for speaking or if you want to book me for help, it necessarily doesn't have to deal with trauma. Even as women, we get lost, we lose ourselves, and I help with that as well. You can book me on my website as well. Everything is on my website.
Perfect. Well, Brandi, I enjoyed our conversation today. You definitely came and you poured it this well. And I pray that there are some women who are listening to this, women and men, and you were blessed by this conversation. And if you were, we ask that you share, we ask that you like, we ask that you follow Brandi on all social media, check out her website. If you have a friend or family member who you think that will really benefit from this conversation, we ask that you forward it over to them. Just send it to them. No explanation needed. Just send it to them. Let them listen to it for themselves. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Thank you, Brandi Owens, for joining me today. Until next time, perhaps you were chosen for such a time as this to write, to tell your story, your truth.